Hello and welcome to Kathy and Ralph's 100 Days of Comics. This is day 35, and today we are going to look at how to set up some basic presets for making a comic in Manga Studio 5. If you don't use Manga Studio 5 or you're not interested in all the geeky neepery that goes on with doing digital comics, and you're just more interested in the drawing ones, this might be a good episode to skip. I'm just saying. So on to today's tutorial. So today we're going to set up a new comic preset page. So the first thing you need to do is choose a new document from the File pull down. You can name the document anything you want to. So it's just giving it sort of a placeholder when you hit save. So I just I think I named it new comic page or new comic. You can name it whatever you like. Like I said, I'm just sort of giving it a placeholder name right now. So what we're going to do now is we need to sort of set the presets for how our comic pages are going to be. When we manually draw a comic book page for a standard comic book, it's 11 by 17, but when it's printed, it is standard width is 7 inches by 10.5 inches, so 7 inches wide by 10.5 inches in height. I choose a resolution of 600 dpi. The 600 dpi allows you to scale up to the 11 by 17 if you need to, or scale down. It also gives you plenty of options for just resizing your raster pages. Then you want to click on your binding and finish size. Your binding size is going to be 6.75 inches by 10.25 inches. This is sort of the size that it sort of gets trimmed to. I believe that's what converts to trim size in Illustrator. So that's sort of what the page is going to get trimmed down to when if it's printed. And then we have a zero bleed. At least I use a zero bleed. I don't know what anybody else uses, but that's what I use. I don't do a lot of bleeds in my comics. And then the default border for the inside frames is a 6.25 width and a 9.75 width. So that's what all your panels are going to fit inside of on your page. You want your X offset and your Y offset to be 0. You want to check your paper color, and your paper color should be white. This gives you the most options for how your page is going to work. You want to click on Register to Preset. Registering it to preset means that it's going to put it into the little pull down menu there. I just make it a basic comic page. This is, you can make 3-panel pages, double-decker comics, all kinds of things for web comics. This is not the kind of page that you would use for printing, though. If you're printing and you're going to have a left page and a right page, you'd have to have your gutter different. So you'd have to set up a left page template and a right page template. I haven't decided to print my webcomics. I just don't think that they're there yet. Right now this is good enough for my webcomics, and it works really well for me. So that's about it for setting up your page. Next thing that we're going to look at is how to set up your panel auto actions. So now we're going to create an auto action in Manga Studio to create our panels. An auto action is like a macro. So you go under the auto action folder and you click on the new folder. The new folder we are going to call panel setup, that is going to be our little thing that we're going to click to choose how to set up our panels. And panel setup is actually quite easy in Manga Studio, but you don't want to do it every time you want to make a panel. So click on your layers so that you can see what you're doing. You choose a new layer. You want to choose a folder frame. I called it panel 1 because that's going to be the first panel. It automatically selects your working area that you've outlined in your previous thing. So now when you click on your layers again, you want to choose a new layer. You want to choose a raster layer. This is going to be our flats layer that we're going to use, and I labeled it as such. And then when you look over at your layers panel over on the right hand side, you can see that you have a new flats layer. Make a second raster layer. That's going to be our render layer where we can do all of our fancy coloring. And I called it render because I'm so imaginative. And you see it shows up there under our layers palette. Another new layer, this time it's going to be a vector layer. This is going to be where our inks go in. Under the expression color, I'm going to choose monochrome, and I'm going to make sure that it's black. You can do whatever you want once you get going, but that's what I choose to do. So click OK, and there it is. And then we go down here and you click the little square button, and that stops the recording. So the red button starts the recording of the macro, the square button stops the recording of the macro. So now when we go back in, we have all this stuff all set up. And isn't that amazing? So now, next time you want to make a new layer, you just go under your auto actions, you choose panel setup, you click the play button, and it automatically starts everything going for you, and it makes your first panel, right? Which is brilliant. And then when you go back to your layers panel, I'm just checking some of the other macros here, just ignore me while I'm doing that. When you go back to your layers panel, now you can start making your new panels. So when you go over to the left hand side of the screen, you can see all your options there, and I want to divide my layer folder, and I want to make sure that it's set to duplicate the layer that's there. So what happens now when you draw your line across to make your new layer, presto bimsco, it just sets up your new layer. And see on the right hand side there how now you have two panels with all the subfolders or all the sublayers underneath. It's pretty straightforward, and it's a great time saver for when you want to set up your comic page, because you don't want to have to set up your folder all the time with all the different sublayers. And that's about it. So I hope you found this helpful, and tomorrow we will go on to do some digital inking and coloring. And thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great weekend. Bye.